Kia ora te whānau. Hi, you've got Mākiri. My name's Mākiri. I'm one of the Plunket line nurses here today. Today we are talking about perinatal mental health, as it is Perinatal Mental Health Awareness Week this week, and we have the beautiful Jessi here who is going to share her story and have a kōrero about it with us about her journey and her experience with mental health. So we'll just talk about signs and symptoms, talk about where to seek help for any concerns or anything with your mental health, and just some advice, and just have a kōrero about, mental health. And Jessi's been, here to share her story, which is awesome, and I think it's going to be a really cool experience for everybody, and hopefully we can get some really good learnings out of this. So Jessi, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Jessi. I've only got one child who's about 20 month boy. So it's definitely been interesting. I've always been obsessed with children, nannied, babysat, been around children my whole life, and always thought I was quite confident and a baby whisperer. So I never expected to have any issues with having my own children and those kind of experiences. So I was very wrong.
Yeah, well, I guess, some of the messages about mental health is, perinatal anxiety and depression is more common than we know. It affects as many as 1 in 4 new mums, which is quite a lot if you think about it. So I think having kōreros like this and talking about it and open kind of breaks down that stigma and lets whānau know that we're here and there's lots of supports out there. So yeah, thank you so much for doing this. Yeah. So, can you tell us a little bit about when and how it started and what kind of the start of it for you and how you kind of came to realize what was happening?
Yeah, I suppose, I guess, it felt quite instant for me. I didn't have the best birth and ended up in a cesarean. And it was just kind of instant. Like, I didn't really want to hold my baby. Like, I just didn't have that. I know a lot of people talk about the initial connection or that overwhelming love that wasn't there, and then the guilt all comes in. But I mean, like, even naming him, like, I feel really guilty about that now. But like, it just, my whole mind kind of changed. And like, I think by the time I came home, I just felt like I'm normally quite an upbeat, bubbly person, and I think initially, like, I just started feeling very, very removed from my life. Like, I was just kind of quite numb. Like, you're in this little box and everything's kind of happening around you, and you're just not a part of it, or it's just separate from where you are. Like, so I think I had like crazy anxiety, and I didn't leave the house and all that kind of thing. It was just more just straight away, which I just didn't experience. I think it was coming to terms with what was actually happening to me, because initially I didn't really notice that it was, hey, big red flags and a mixture of and also my child was he's beautiful, but he was a really difficult baby as well. So he had I think he had silent reflux and colic, and he wasn't sleeping, and all he did was screamed, and it was just not this beautiful bliss of bringing home a newborn and spending all day cuddling and all this wonderful magical thing that everyone makes it out to be, which was quite hard to get my head around.
So what was your pregnancy like? Were there any signs during your pregnancy or anything like that? Or was that kind of once baby was born?
Yeah, nothing really that stood out to me. I mean, the normal kind of anxious mum thing about, oh, are you okay? Movements, are these happening? Like, nothing really that I thought, like, I've never had any issues with my mental health previously. So this was a really big surprise for me. Like, no red flags initially. It was just, as soon as he kind of came out, it's just everything changed really quickly for me.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because we do know that that mental health can start during pregnancy as well. And some of those things that you talk about are definitely those signs of, that lack of bond with baby, and there's feelings of that lack of attachment and things like that are definitely signs of postnatal depression. So who was the first person that you kind of talked to and helped you with that?
It's hard at the beginning because it's not, I mean, it's hard because there's not like a lot of information I found when I was going through the process, like out there. So it's kind of hard to kind of know. And like my husband and stuff, they don't really know anything about it. And I think it was that there's so much kind of guilt and shame with bringing it up. So I think it took me a while. And I mentioned it, I think, with my midwife towards the end of my time with them, because I just knew things were brewing. But it wasn't something I was actively talking about because I just didn't want to really admit it, because I was ashamed, or you didn't realize how bad it was. Like, I think, and it wasn't really until I think I couldn't hide it anymore, if you know what I mean. I tried when I was around people, like, to try and put on a face and be me, where internally I just felt like I was dying. Like, it was, I remember actually 3 weeks after my son was born was my 29th birthday, and it was lockdown, and my husband was trying to be really nice, so he baked a cake and tried to do a big family kind of happy birthday with like Facebook, with all that video calling. And I remember hearing it happen. I wanted to run away. I didn't want to sit in front of the camera in front of all these people that know me and sit there smiling and being happy and how's it all going? I just wanted to just retreat and hide and run. It was, I think as soon as that video call finished, I just burst into tears, and it was like torture for me. But it was so many weird things. But initially, kind of that real first step, I think, was my Plunket nurse.
Yeah. Okay. And so what did that kind of look like for you, and how did you was it the Plunket nurse that reached out and noticed, or did you say something to her? Like, how did that come about?
So things were, I wasn't in a very good place, and I was coming to terms when I knew that, when it was just not good. And I think I had gone to my Plunket appointment. I think it was my second appointment with my Plunket nurse, and the whole way there I was crying. My baby was screaming, and in the whole appointment I was crying, and my baby was just constantly screaming. And we tried to have a bit of a normal checkup and stuff, and a little bit of a talk and things, but it was just not really working out because I wasn't in the best headspace, and my poor son just would not stop screaming no matter what we kind of did. But we talked about a few things, but I think it was more her initial concept of, she contacted my doctor, the nurse practitioner at my doctor's, and obviously spoken to me about her concerns, which we did briefly discuss. And they had called me that same day and got me into the doctor's the next morning. And so I don't think I would have taken that initial step, because I think the actual asking for help part was, I wasn't quite ready, or that kind of aspect. So I think that took a lot of that pressure away from me. I don't know when I would have done it otherwise, but I'm very, very thankful that we kind of started that process pretty early in my kind of,
Okay, so then it was the GP appointment the next day. So was it with the nurse practitioner or the GP, or?
The GP. So the nurse kind of arranged it all, and so straight into the doctor, and started that next kind of course on trying to get things a little bit better.
Okay. So what are some of the things that are kind of helping you continue your kind of wellness and your mental health at the moment? Like, what would you recommend to other whānau and parents and mamas out there, kind of, that might be going through some of the things that you were feeling?
Now is very different to back earlier. I'm doing a lot better now. I mean, I still struggle and I still have highs and lows, but I mean, I personally, medication was the best option for me. I know there's quite a few different things, but I felt like I had become pretty open with it, and I talked to it about with my family and that kind of, my friends. So I wasn't completely in the closet. So there was like counselling. I felt like I was being open enough. But so for me, medication was the best option, and that has really, really helped. I mean, I have gone off it before because I don't feel like, I don't want to be on it, because there's still that stigma and that embarrassment around being on antidepressants, and even part of me is like, oh, I've been off it and then I've had to go back on it, and I've recently gone back on it again, and it just, like, even within, I think, a week, my mum was just like, I can notice such a difference in you already, which I felt, but it was just nice that someone else can actually just, that whole weight is kind of lifted. I mean, it doesn't take everything away, but it just kind of takes a bit of the edge away for me at the moment. But back then, I suppose, when I was calling my dark days, it's kind of weird going back to that time, but trying to talk to someone just so that you can get out of your head a little bit. Doesn't have to be your partner, because it's really hard, I think, sometimes for someone who hasn't been in that situation or even experienced the motherhood journey to even kind of understand. And there's a difference between, like there's so many different like levels and scales, but if they had a tough time, like baby blues is, to me, felt so different to what I was experiencing, and it was hard because a lot of the times people kind of belittled it a little bit, like, oh, it'll be fine, or it's okay, or maybe next week will be better. And especially when you just don't feel like yourself, you'll just feel like a completely different person. Like I was hating motherhood. I hated, like, being at home was really hard. Like I didn't even leave my house. Like I just, it was just so foreign. But there's a lot of different options, but for me, little steps like knowing what I could or couldn't achieve and kind of letting go of the guilt. It took a while, but I couldn't, like, I knew I couldn't keep on top of the housework and the laundry and all these extra bits because it was just kind of survival during that time, which is weird to say, and I think once I kind of let myself go of that kind of aspect, it made things a little bit easier. Because otherwise just guilt piles on feeling guilty about everything, and that was really hard.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a good tip there, that set yourself small little achievable goals every day, even just getting up in the morning, having a shower, getting changed out of your pajamas is a massive achievement for the day, making your bed, little steps that you can kind of just tick off, and you've achieved something today. The rest of it is okay because you've done those one little things that are on your checklist.
Yeah, definitely. Like, that's what I mean. Like, for me, I think it went to the point where I hadn't showered for days, and it was foreign because I was just like, well, it didn't even, I know you get busy, but it didn't even cross my mind. Excuse me, my dog has turned on the TV. 1 second.
That's a smart dog there. So just while Jessi's gone to do that, I just thought I might quickly go through some signs and symptoms to look out for. So some of the things that Jessi mentioned were your feeling of, that lack of bonds, lack of joy. So those are definitely some signs and symptoms to look out for. Other things to look out for is that feeling of sadness, hopelessness, lacking of energy, not being able to get out of bed, just tired, angry, irritation, high anxiety, poor appetite or excessive appetite as well. Those can be some signs and symptoms of depression. So dog better now?
Yes, I've removed the remote. Unless you want some children lullabies in the background.
Cute. It's a very smart dog.
Yeah, I think she just sat on it and was like, oops. But the signs and symptoms are really hard, and it depends how self-aware you are of yourself. At the time, you don't realize a lot of it. So I think it's kind of probably really good to kind of just talk to others around you. But it's just, it just happens so quickly for some people. And like for me especially, it was just, I didn't even know who I was anymore. Like it was just, the best thing I kind of described it a lot of time was numb. I was just numb.
Numb, that's another good one. Yeah.
Which was
So thinking back, can you think of things that that a nurse, the midwife or the Plunket nurse might have been able to do, like to kind of support that a little bit, or how they supported you, or any recommendations or kind of tips for mums to look out for, like cues for them and stuff like that? Does that make sense? I'm not sure, but
I definitely think it's probably really handy, like, to kind of try and, I guess, research a bit about the signs and stuff yourself first, so you kind of can actually pick up on it a little bit. But there's quite a lot, now I've learned, there's quite a lot of help available, like with support groups, or even like through the healthcare, they've got like health improvement officers that like kind of like these different like counselling options if you don't know if someone's like a safe space within kind of your group. But I was really lucky as well. I had a really good antenatal group. So once I finally kind of admitted it to some of them when we were kind of talking about struggles and stuff, it was easier. Once I made the initiative, I'm really struggling, I'm going through this, and then it was easier to talk about the next time. But
did you find other mums opened up to you as well when you talked about it openly with them?
Yeah, I don't think they experienced the kind of similar things as far or as bad as I had, but you just see every mum struggling.
Yeah, definitely.
I think the social media, everyone's got these perfect lives, perfect babies, everything's so easy, and then like when you actually talk to them, they're all just stressed and struggling for different things. So it's kind of really nice that they pushed you a little bit, especially to be a bit social, to check up or go for a walk, or like things that I really didn't want to do, but afterwards felt really good.
Yeah. So we've got a comment come through from a mama. I was diagnosed. Oh, that's cool. Sorry, I've just got a comment through with one of our mums that's watching. I was diagnosed with postnatal depression anxiety when my thirst was 2 years old 3 years ago. I asked help as I realised I wasn't well. Looking back, symptoms started when my baby was 6 months old. Going through this journey was tough, but it made me aware I'm the priority, and if I don't look after myself, I can't look after anyone else. Priorities have changed, and myself and my family are the most important. I saw a counsellor through work, then GP the next day, and then have been on medication since then. I never want to stop it. I'm never being ashamed of talking about it. And if I can help someone else or make them aware with my experience, I'm very happy. That's amazing. Yeah. And I think that's what this cold talk is about, is just kind of breaking down those stigmas, and, it's out there. And definitely those are the places to go. Talk about it with Whānau, create a little village for yourself, and just be open, be aware of the signs and symptoms, and just reach out for help. Plunket line is an amazing resource. Our phone number is 0800 933 922. We're 24/7, so we've always got nurses online. You can call anytime. You might get a nurse like me. I'm one of the Plunket line nurses, and we're happy to have a kōrero about anything and kind of support you on those next stages, steps, and where to seek help. Yeah, definitely. Thank you for that comment. That's awesome. I like creating stuff like that. It's cool.
And I think it helps. I mean, now that I'm at a different stage, kind of at a different end of it, but like seeing people talking about it, like, was really cool for me, because you might see, like, even on like social media, you might see someone like mentioning something that really resonated with you, or like with me at the time, and it just made you feel not so alone, and like you're going through this by yourself, and okay, if people can get through it, I can get through it, or maybe it's not so bad as it seems, or maybe I can get better. And I think that kind of really made a huge difference during the time, because some days it really felt like your world was ending.
Yeah.
And like you couldn't see into the future or get past it. I mean, as I say, my son is nearly 2, and I'm still struggling, and I'm still on medication. I'm doing a lot better, but I never expected it to go this long. And I know, I've come to understand that it could be there for a long time. But, I think because I'm managing it, it's, it's better. And I think being open with my employers too, because I have some bad weeks, or motivation might be low sometimes. So I think it's also trying to do things to release some of the pressure on yourself, but definitely what the comment was saying about making yourself a priority.
Yeah, definitely. You got to fill your Māmā cup up too, because you're
hard.
not really, but if you've got a full Māmā cup, you're able to give everything to your pepe, and that's the goal. Can't work from a half empty cup. So if medication or talk therapy, there's so many different types of counselling and stuff like that is what you need to kind of help you fill your cup up. Then we're doing it for our pepe and ourselves. So prioritizing your own mental health is really important. Yeah, because we've got lots of people looking. I'm a mama of 6, so and it can be hard sometimes.
Yeah, but even like talking to others, you kind of learn lots of different things. Like one of my antenatal friends, or one of my mum friends and stuff I was talking to recently, like little things like rage, this weird thing that you may have never had. And I've experienced it a couple of times when I've just been like, it was something real small, but when you're like limit, like I think I was in the bathroom, my son and husband were having a shower, and they were just calling me to go get them from, like, when they finish, I'll get my son and I'll dress him and change him at the end of the night. And they were calling me, and they hear Mama, and then my little son's like, Mama, and it's normally would be really cute, but I just remember being so frustrated and furious in the next room, because I was just grabbing something and they just kept calling me, and it's like this weirdest feeling of just this weird like flush of rage or something, like not that I didn't have, but just anger inside my body for the stupidest little thing that would normally be like, oh, how sweet, but it was just it's so many kind of things.
It's that touched out. You feel a bit touched out because you're having little people around you that need so much of your attention, and sometimes it gets frustrating, and that not knowing where to place that, and
it's just the weirdest things you experience. And I don't think, like, I remember with obviously midwives and like antenatal classes, I think postnatal depression and stuff is like there's a pamphlet or it's quite minimally talked about, I think, before coming up to it. So that's what I was saying, for me, it was really such a shock, I think, because I didn't know a lot about it. I never thought I would experience it. And then you're just kind of deep diving, I suppose, into the depths of this weird stage of your life. But I just definitely am all for, I guess, these kind of conversations where it's trying to become more normal. As you said, 1 in 4, was it?
Yep, 1 in 4.
I had no idea it was that common.
Yep, yeah. Yep. Yeah, and 1 in 10 dead. I think the statistics are that means about almost 15,000 births across Aotearoa are impacted every year by mental health, some sort of mental health.
And
It's a
like
lot.
the ongoing guilt, because like often when I reflect back, I felt like I was the worst mum. Like, I know my baby was completely cared for and he was loved and I did everything possible for him. But at the same time, it was just like I look back and I feel like this is probably bad, but I look back and kind of feel like I ruined that beginning journey of motherhood for me. Like, it was just, it's tainted. And like, you're like, because I think I wasn't in the best headspace a lot of the time. It's like, can you get that back? Which I know is a really stupid thing, but I think it's that whole guilt concept where I'm constantly like being mean to yourself and judging yourself and saying you could have done better or you could have done this. And it's just, now I look back and it's silly. Like, I did the best I could, and that's all anyone could ask for. And my son is happy, healthy, and wonderful, but it's just, yeah, I think the guilt aspect of it really kills you back then as well.
Yeah.
Such a fun time.
Yeah. So, what's some of the little, like, I know you're on medication, and you mentioned earlier about setting little goals for you, but like, are there any other big tips, things like mama groups or things like that you might do, or little things that you can kind of do with baby and family time, relationship wise, and things like that? Like, other things that you can do to kind of that might help you with your mental health?
Definitely now is a bit different. I mean, a lot of the time, like, I'm like, even at work, because I work full time and stuff as well now, which is interesting at times, but I definitely think the social aspect is really important, even though often I don't want to do it. And the lead up to it, you get the bit of anxiety, the stress kind of aspect of it, but it feels really good once you're there, I think, and being able to sometimes openly talk about things or just have some fun and like not so serious life, because I think it's so easy to get bogged down in the day-to-day grind of life, like with breakfast and work or the whole bath bedtime routines, and it's just, you don't really get to live a lot, I think. And it's just, I think, the monogamous kind of side of things. But I don't know, I just think trying to be open, which is really, really, really hard, but I think, yeah, that's a really, really big aspect.
Yeah.
But again, it's just what I've experienced. I know everyone experiences things differently, but yeah.
Yeah, I know, as when I used to work in the community, a part of my big conversation with Whānau would be, right from the start is, who is your support people? Who is your main person that you look for to talk about things? And it might not be who we all think it is, your husband, your partner, your parents. Sometimes that's not your safe place and that isn't your support. And if you feel like you don't have that, then, that's a perfect opportunity to talk to your midwife, talk to your Plunket nurse, talk to some friends, jump online. There are heaps of platforms online. Facebook has mum groups all set up, reach out, see what kind of groups are out in the community. And, your village can be your whānau, but it can also be those people that are in your community. And there's, if you check out the Plunket webpage, we have, if you type in your area, you can go to what's on in your community, and it might have some of the mums and me groups in that there. Sleep courses, antenatal courses, your midwife can help you with that. So there's definitely, if you don't feel like you have that support close to you, there's definitely a community out there that you can search and find. And I think having people around you to kind of share and talk to is definitely really a good step for wellness. Yeah.
And like, one thing I didn't know with Plunket is I had some sleep consultant help and lactation consultant help in the first 6 months of baby as well, which I didn't even know that you guys did. So that was really amazing. I think someone experienced something. They told my other friends who told me, and I was like, wow. And I think because we had
the Māmā grapevine, eh?
well, he was a horrible sleeper, and we had latching issues quite bad, which obviously added to everything else I was experiencing. So that support was really cool.
Yeah, and that we've got all of those available through Plunket. So yeah, Plunket Nurse is definitely a good place to kind of talk to those things about and hook you up with that. So I'm going to check what else.
There is a comment.
Oh, is there another one?
Yeah.
What of postnatal rage? Not so much depression, but feelings of anger, rage, and wanting to escape. Yeah, I think we touched on that a little bit before, that kind of feelings of when you get quite touched out, or you've had a big day and, you know, you get that rage or that anger and you just don't know where to put it, and it normally comes out screaming or yelling or just wanting to avoid being around certain people and your children and stuff like that. And yeah, definitely that's a sign of mental depression or anxiety and things like that. I think if you're feeling those, definitely check out, talk to your Plunket nurse, check out some of those websites online, chat to your GP, reach out to your community. Sometimes it's just kind of finding the right kind of counselling for you to talk about that a little bit. Things like this, talking about it openly and knowing that what you're feeling isn't abnormal, it's normal, and lots of people feel like that. Is there anything you can kind of add to that?
Yeah,
Or you'd like to add?
kind of what I mentioned before, that
Yeah.
like I had experienced bursts of it, which was not my character at all, and it was that same with the guilt and stuff associated with it. It was just so fun. Just the smallest thing would completely set me off, and not that I would do anything to harm myself or anyone. I was lucky in that sense, but it was just this uncontrollable anger and rage inside. But kind of talking to some of my mum friends, realizing that a few of them have experienced them, and like some of them, it was a real problem for them, and not as just something I wasn't that aware of before.
Yeah.
So it's I'm not really sure what they're doing, but I know that they, I think it's a really hard one to do as well. But
I think the first thing with that would be to make sure that it's okay to feel frustrated and angry. First thing you want to do is make sure baby's in a safe space. So putting baby in the cot, putting them away from you, stepping away, having a little bit of a cry to yourself, having a scream, a yell to yourself, feel those feelings, make sure that those feelings are out, and then you can come back and, as long as baby's safe in a way and baby's in a safe place, it's okay to feel those feelings. But always make sure that yourself and baby are safe. If you're feeling like you're not safe or you're going to harm yourself or baby, then you definitely, there's crisis numbers. First one would be, if it's an emergency, 111, or reach out to your local mental health crisis services. We will have these numbers and websites on our comments page at the end, so you can access them at any time. So definitely, if you're feeling that, always make sure that yourself and baby are safe. If you're feeling like you just need to kind of vent it out, then put baby in a safe space. Do that. If you're feeling like it's a little bit more than then, 111 or mental health crisis.
Yeah, so even if you've got a good support group, or like even your neighbor or something that you've got something like, if you're having a really tough time, so it's even just tapping on them like, I need 5 minutes. I don't know how many nights I've spent crying to myself in bed or sitting out on the deck in the cold crying, and just because I think when you go through those, you just feel so alone. I'm like, this is probably a really weird analogy, but at the beginning, I remember my husband, he tried to understand what I was feeling. And I think he was saying something like, I get it. It's like you've always really wanted this car, and you finally get the car, and the car isn't what you want. So I'm like, no, the car is perfect. There's nothing wrong with the car. It's me. Like, it's like, it was a real weird thing, but he was trying to understand. And even though he got it quite wrong, but it was still nice that, like, I think it was really foreign for him and as well. So I think that was hard, but it was just interesting other I guess, perceptions of you and what you're going through. But you
Yeah.
do. You feel no one understands. No one's relating to you. You're alone, and it just makes it a lot harder.
Yeah.
But like the reflecting on it, it was a really, really, really rough few months, particularly for me. And like even though I'm doing good now, it's still like even like obviously we're talking with Plunket this week. Looking back on it, it's been really tough actually. Kind of going back through that kind of stage because yeah, it's hard, and I just feel for so many women experiencing it. It's just
Yeah. Well,
hard.
yeah, you're so brave, Jessi, and thank you so much for doing this. And I think your story is obviously it's getting other people involved, and people are helping. And we've got so much aroha for you for doing this. We're all here for you. And yeah, thank you so much for this, because I think it's going to start a really awesome conversation with people, and kind of break down that stigma. I've said that a few times, and that's kind of what these conversations need to be created for, is to break down that stigma and show how brave we are as wahine. We're powerful. We grow these babies inside our tummy, and then we look after them. They're always on our mind. Yeah.
It's definitely a journey, but as you're saying, so many women experience it. And that's why I keep trying to tell myself that yes, I went through this horrible time. Yes, but like I'm doing better. We're on a much better kind of thing. But it's just, yeah, I think knowing that it's not just you, like so many people, and there's so much help available, and you're not alone.
Yeah.
And it does get better for most
Yeah.
people. It can get better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good.
So now, where are you now? Like, are you back at mahi, and kind of how's your journey like now? And
my journey, like I was saying, I'm in a much better place. Back at work full time. I was saying still on medication and things. And there's times when I thought that I was better, or I didn't want to be on medication still, because I thought, I'm doing okay. And so I think I stopped around Christmas time, and things just got very overwhelming and pretty rough pretty quickly, to the point where I was just kind of, I just wasn't in a very good space. Motivation was low. It was though I was crying all the time and being set off. But even like my house, you just start telling other little things. Like even my sister came in once and she was like, "This is what depression looks like." And I remember just bursting into tears, being like, "I'm going through so much. Like you don't quite understand." Like that little comment, like just. But so I think us talking to my husband and stuff, like I really didn't want to go back on, but I knew that I needed to. And I'm trying to tell myself, why am I ashamed of that? There's no reason to be. It's a chemical imbalance. It's not my fault.
It is, yeah. And it is. It's a very common tool. Yeah, it's a common tool that we use to support our mental health. It's not for everybody, and sometimes you don't have to be on it for a long time. Sometimes it is a short time, sometimes it is a long time, and like you said, it's a chemical imbalance, and it's what you need to help you and get through. So and that's the amazing thing about technology and science these days, and medication, and it was the GP that supported you and got you there on your medication. And
it was
so
a pretty easy journey, which was quite nice. But so back on, and as I say, straight away, such a difference, and it just makes me feel a bit more me. Like I was saying, still swings and roundabouts, and not everything's perfect and dandy, but I'm doing better, and that's compared to last year, that's awesome. So
cool. Have you got any big plans or anything coming up shortly, or anything like that, or anything to look forward to?
We have been talking about it, but no, like I've been thinking about doing like a little holiday, but then everything in life's so expensive these days. So I think it's just trying to enjoy my little one, because he's growing so fast and just trying to take these little things for granted. So I think it's just a bit more family time, and I think trying to prioritize myself a bit more, because obviously that's been kind of on the leeway, let go a bit over the last year. So finding myself a bit more would be nice.
Yeah, cool.
Little goals.
Cool. So I know we talked a little bit about, medication and the GP that was your support, but what about Whānau and friends and that support? Like, do you still talk to them, and do they support you in that, or is it kind of just?
Yeah, I'm really lucky that I have some amazing family and friends. And I think it helps that I have been pretty open from the get-go. Of course, when I'm in a bad spell, it's harder to initiate those conversations, or beaving, but once I'm in a better place, it's easier to talk about it.
Have they recognised the signs in you as well? Can they recognise them and kind of support you in that and say to you, hey, Mum, or hey, Jessi, you know, how's everything going? And they bring that up with you as well?
There's like one or two individuals that I think see me enough to know. If I don't see you enough, I think I got really good at hiding it.
Yeah.
But being on, which would be really hard for me afterwards, because I would put on this face, but inside I was struggling, and that really didn't actually help. But it was kind of a coping mechanism, I suppose. But I think those close to me are really good at picking up the signs, and they just know. I know now, I think, because I've been through it a few times and ups and downs and things, but I have really, really tried to be open with them, which isn't always easy. And sometimes I don't want to be, because I just often want to escape and run away in my room and hide. But obviously I'm a mum, I can't do that. So I think finding little kind of time or spaces, and it's definitely been a learning curve for everyone, I think, involved. So I mean, I'm impacted, but my whole family has been.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing we've got to realise sometimes, is that, you know, it takes a village, you know, to bring up our little babies. And like I said earlier, you know, just because a village looks different, it might not just be your close whānau, it could be friends and that. But, you know, trying to find that village for you just can make that journey into motherhood so much easier. I'm really lucky. Like I said before, I've got six babies, and I have this amazing village around me that's meant I've been able to do work, babies, keep having babies, maternity leave and babies and work and all this sort of things, because I have an amazing village around me. And, you know, hearing your story, there's definitely been times when I've felt those exact same things, like that mum rage, that anger, that touched out, and just feelings of, you know, being too much and stuff like that. And I've too, you know, found that recognizing those signs really earlier on, talking to my husband about it, he's been really amazing to see those signs as well in me. And that's why I asked before, you know, do they recognize them? And he's just tapped me on the shoulder and gone, hey, give me the baby. You need to get some sleep. You need to chill out. You need to relax. You need to fill your cup. Go do this. And straight away, you know. So
Sounds
those
like
things really do help. Yeah, I do. I'm really lucky. I'm really fortunate to have a really cool village around me. Yeah. I think we have another comment from Laura. Kia ora te wahine toa, student midwife here. Sorry to join late, listening and learning about what Māmā experienced and what support was there and helped, and perhaps what was missing, wanted, needed. The last part of that comment is an interesting one. What did you not have that could have helped? What did you not have that could have helped? Okay, yeah. So what did you have that could not have helped? That could have helped?
I think it can be really, really easy to hide and brush off and ignore, especially in those early stages. So I guess maybe a bit of a push more for these conversations to happen properly. Like, I think even with one of my midwives, because I had two of them, I mentioned it to one of them, and then the other one never brought it up again, so I didn't bring it up with her.
Yeah.
And then it never really got talked about, and then so I just kind of, okay, maybe it's not so bad, or maybe it's not so important, or maybe it's just me. Like, and then so I think not compulsory, because you know, but like I think other in the healthcare kind of sector, initiating a proper conversation about those things, because otherwise it just gets kind of brushed over. I felt it might be different for everybody else, but and then if I'm trying to hide it, it's easy to be like, no, we're good, okay, end of conversation.
I think looking back as a kaimahi, you know, worker in the healthcare sector, those barriers around those questions and having, you know, it's part of our mahi. We should be asking those questions, and asking those questions aren't, you know, we're not doing it to judge you or anything like that. We're doing it to have those conversations because it's real and it's out there, and to break down those barriers.
And I think there's such a guilt from conversations I've had or seen about what people are thinking, that the whole same for about you not being a good mother, or someone saying you're not fit enough to be a mother, or that kind of aspect. Even though you're doing everything right or everything you can, I think that still plays in your mind about, what if they judge me badly, or what if they put this on my record that I'm not being a good mum, or even though, you know, it's probably completely in your head sometimes, but I think the fear of that as well, because
So do you think if those questions were kind of pushed and put out there in more of a conversational level, or not in like a
checkbox kind of exercise
not
thing?
in a checkbox kind of way, but yeah, getting to know a mum, asking them, what kind of questions do you think would have helped? Like, how are you feeling? Those ones, or more?
Yeah, because I think back then if someone asked you that, I would have burst into tears. So,
That's a
you
good
know,
sign. No, I guess, yeah. If mum is
yeah,
bursting into tears because you asked how she's feeling, that's pretty.
yeah, especially when you're keeping it in. And I think a lot of it's I guess it really depends on everybody, but it's hard because it's not like you don't always go with somebody to these appointments and things. So it's harder to get a gauge, I think, on the individual if no one else is there to be like, this is not you or this is you. And
Yeah,
it is a hard one because I guess it really is up to the person and whether they're accepting it or whether they talk about it or whether it's clearly visible, because I think it's something that you can really hide.
yeah. Do you think then if you knew more about the signs of it earlier on, then you might have been a bit more open to those questions, or a bit more, or
I think it's
no?
hard for me because I felt like I had been quite open from the beginning. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Like I was really lucky in that I got help very early in
yeah,
my postpartum journey, which I know a lot of women don't.
yeah,
Um, and so maybe that was a really good thing for me that I forced myself to kind of talk about it and be open, even though I hated it and it just made me feel so bad. Um, at the very, very beginning. And I think a lot of people probably aren't as open with it, maybe, which is why I'm, participating in these things because I want to become less, more normal to talk about, less taboo, less kind of embarrassment or shame or whatever anyone's experiencing, why they're not sharing it or hiding it as such if they are. Yeah, just because I found that helped me very early on.
yeah. Cool. So definitely, you feel like this is the right track. We're on a good train here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, as I said,
Again, I just want to say how amazing you are for this, because you've got, this is awesome.
I'm
Thank
sure
you.
once I know that if somebody said it, I'll probably cringe internally. But right now, I'm just pretending it's us and it's fine.
It is. It's just us. It's all good. You're fine, Mama.
Yeah. But yeah, I think just kind of even just now, like seeing the amazing kid I have, like it's just like he is my absolute world. And even now, as much as this has been the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, the hardest
Yeah,
journey I've ever had, as I said, that I never expected ever to experience, I would do it all again for him. But I may have said something different when I was going through it. Like I think
yeah,
once I remember asking my husband, being like, "Do you ever regret kind of having a son?" He said, "Of course not." And I remember it took me a bit longer to answer, which
yeah,
you still think about and have that guilt aspect, but it's just that's what I was experiencing at the time. And like as I'm saying now that I'm better, he's amazing and he's the best thing in my world. But yeah, at the time it's just very, very different mindset.
yeah. Oh, you are amazing.
I don't know if I feel about him hearing or seeing that, but
Cool. I guess just thinking back on some of my journeys through motherhood, like, and those feelings. How do you do like that? You've got when you're at home and you've got your you've got your baby, and what was it like with the housework, and how did you manage all that sort of stuff and meals and all that sort of stuff? Did that kind of
it
from
definitely
now and then, yeah.
it definitely fell by the leeway.
And what
Eventually, my
kind of
husband.
like if advice for that would you give to parents? And because
It's
I know that that can be quite a big thing for parents, for mums. You've got this whole expectation of what you're going to do at home, like, oh, and sometimes it gets to that, you're home all day, you've got the baby, you can do the washing, you can cook dinner,
yeah,
because what do you do all day? So how?
that was a big thing, and I suppose
Yeah,
I'm not OCD or like super clean that kind of aspect, but I mean I was constantly juggling and rocking and bouncing my child 24/7 because he didn't sleep and he was constantly screaming, so I could barely do anything, and I think I just had to accept that pretty early. And when my husband came home and he'd hold the baby, I might try and make dinner or something, but at the beginning I think I was lucky that he was pretty understanding and he took a bit of that weight. Um,
yeah,
and but yeah, for me, I had to let it go because some days would eat at me and I would feel angry and guilty and all these things about the washing, like
yeah,
irrelevant to me surviving and my baby surviving. But I just, yeah, I didn't have a choice because I just couldn't control it and I couldn't take care of it all the time. And yeah, some days were different, and like my mum and stuff would come around, and my sister-in-law would help out, or they'd do some washing when they were here and that kind of things. And I was lucky for that, but I know not everybody has that. But
Yeah.
letting go was a big thing.
Yeah, I think that's a good message too. Yeah, it's just concentrating on the big picture things, and a baby is in those first couple of months for real is a full-time job, especially if you're breastfeeding. Dad's at work, yeah, you're at work too, you're making,
All the time.
growing,
It's quite
looking
funny.
after this person that needs you 24/7.
It's quite funny reflecting, because I was one of those creepy people that if I heard a baby cry, I'd want to find them and give them cuddles.
Yeah.
Like I saw pregnant people, I was so envious of them. And then I remember, like, even a couple months in of my postpartum duty, seeing heavily pregnant people, and all I felt was sympathy for them. Like I felt so sorry for what they're about to experience, and like I just, like I'm so sorry. Like, which is, compared to me being this crazy obsessed baby person, like it was just.
So what about now that you're feeling, do you still feel those kind of feelings, or is it kind of eased off?
It's definitely eased off. It's a lot better. Like sometimes I'm like, oh, glad it's not me, or I'm glad it's not mine. But yeah, it's definitely nothing like it was.
Yeah.
As I said, I'm not back to my old self, and I'm a new version of myself, I suppose.
Oh, you're a mum now.
Yeah. So it's just, it's not as bad as it was. Like I don't run the other way. So
You might go up and have a kōrero with her about it.
yeah, I don't want to scratch them and cuddle them like I used to. But yeah, and I think it's also scary thinking about, obviously I've only got one, like if we have another child, and the fears of, will this get worse? Will it intensify? And then that's sometimes a bit paralyzing.
Yep.
But I mean, part of me's like, how much better can it get?
Hey, you can come around to my funny and find out if you like one day.
It's a weird to say the word survive, but I felt like I survived that, like, especially that first year. And I feel like if we got through that, but yeah, it's definitely an interesting journey.
Yeah.
That I really wish people didn't have to experience, but yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So, is there any advice that you have for any mamas out there? Any like last parting words before we wrap this up?
I suppose just be kind to yourself, because I spent so many nights feeling guilty and being really mean to myself and thinking that I'm not being a good enough mother, or I'm not doing enough, or I should be better, I should be doing this. And and I think that was just something I could have worked on or avoided a bit more to kind of make things a bit easier for myself. But definitely having, even if it's just someone, or even if you're not comfortable talking to people, something online to kind of help give you a bit of guidance or support, or make you feel okay, because sometimes it's hard. No matter what everyone's telling you, you're a great mom, you're doing awesome, if you don't feel it or you don't relate to that, it's kind of like empty words, I think, at the beginning. But as long as you try, I suppose, and get a bit of help, whatever way that works for you, it will get better. And I think even if you're in the thick of it, it will get better. The baby will get easier, or you'll start finding little things to make life a bit easier for yourself, but it won't always feel that way. At the time, it feels like it will, but it won't.
Yeah. There's light.
Yes, it might be very far away, but there's still light.
Yeah. Oh, cool. So just to kind of wrap that up, I guess, when we're talking about it, seeing those signs, knowing the signs of depression, talking to someone, having a support there, whether it's family, community, your Plunket nurse, midwife, see the GP. What else? Medication therapy, talk therapy, postnatal depression support groups, there's community mental health services, home help assistance. There's so many things out in our community. Sometimes it's really hard to get that information, especially if your mind's not in the right place, but those first steps could be talking to the Plunket nurse and talking to your GP about it. Little things to make you feel good and get that oxytocin working can be, just making those small little goals. Yeah. Planning little activities to do with your baby, cuddles. Sometimes that fresh little baby oxytocin can kind of get you through that afternoon. Did you ever do any writing or journaling or anything like that?
I thought about it lots. I never did,
Yeah.
but I think I internally did, and I thought about kind of this thing, doing that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think also getting out of my property, because I could happily just be in, box myself off from everyone for a long time. And I think that once I was out there, it was good. Getting out there was really hard, but I always, even just a little tiny walk, did make
Yeah,
me
that
feel
fresh air.
something
Yeah.
so simple.
Sometimes that can work really well for baby too. Like I always recommend that to mums too if baby's like overstimulated or something like that, overtired. Sometimes getting out of the house and going for a walk, finding those things that help you de-stress and kind of take your mind off things are really helpful. Yeah, I just think you've been amazing, Jessi, for sharing this experience with us. And I think a lot of us can take a lot of teachings away from us. Me as a health worker and Plunket line worker, some of the conversations. I love that you've kind of helped break down some of those stigma and embarrassments about mental health and talking about it. And by the looks of the comments, you've definitely spurred something in a lot of mama out there, and they're very thankful.
It definitely took me a while to even get to that stage, I think. Yeah, definitely through things that there was no way I could, but now it's a lot of, I think, talking to myself about it's okay. It's the same for, it's not your fault, it's something else that's happening. You're not being judged. But yeah.
I think that's a really important thing to remember too, is that it's not your fault. It's actually a mental health illness. It's an illness. 1 in 4 mothers experience it during birth, after birth. It's even fathers, 1 in 10. 1 in 10, did I say?
Yeah,
I think it was 1 in 10 dads. Yeah, so it's very real. Yeah. So also you can always, whānau out there, you can always call Plunket line. We are 24/7. Our phone number is 0800 933 922. For any parenting advice and support, we're there, and you may talk to a nurse like me. I think if anybody else has any more questions or anything, we might just wrap that up. Yeah. Like I said before, we're going to put a lot of our useful resources that we talk about on the comments. So they will come up when you log on to the Facebook Live. They will be there for you to check out any time. Some of them that we use and we recommend on Plunket line are the Need to Talk free call or text 1737 number. So that's 24/7. There's the Depression Helpline, which is 0800 757, or you can text 4202. So those are some really good resources. But yeah, so just check those out. They will be on our chat. Yeah, is there anything you want to say before we head off, Jessi?
No, just thanks for having me and listening to my personal little experience. I know everyone's different, but I suppose for those that are listening and experience that thing, first step, awesome that you're kind of looking at different ways to try and understand it. So yeah, thank you, and whew, go us.
Yeah, thank you so much. Again, I think I've thanked you like a million times during this because I just think you're so brave and you're so
I might
beautiful.
go run and cry or hide now, but
No, I was having a little couple of tears too. I was like, oh, you're so sweet, Mama. So yeah, thank you for sharing with us, and thank you everybody out there, whānau, for joining us. Yeah, hopefully we can have a few more of these because I think it's been really, I've enjoyed it, and I hope everybody else has enjoyed it. And I think it is definitely a step that we can take to kind of help break down those barriers and make that awareness there. And what better kind of platform to do it than on social media. Yeah, cool. All right. Well, I think we're going to end this now. Ka kite whānau. Again, any concerns or anything like that, give us a call at Plunket line, talk to your Plunket nurse, see your GP. Yeah, cool. All right. Ka kite. Thanks, Jessi.
Thank you.
Bye.